Welcome back to another book highlight of Sheaves and Stars. This one is another character insert. It's called My Brother, and if you've been following along, that's what we're up to. This is a character insert, a look into the life of Joseph's little brother Benjamin, who is back in Canaan with their grieving father Jacob. Now remember, Benjamin is still in the dark along with his father he's about 12 years old at this point, and he's still in the dark with his father about what really happened. He thinks that Joseph died in a horrible accident, and Benjamin has been, he's lost his mother as well. And first off, before we get into what we can learn from this character insert, I just want to remind you why I do these character inserts and why I do biblical fiction in general. These kind of moments are not mentioned in Scripture. The moment of, this particular character insert is talking about how the loss of Joseph has been affecting Benjamin over the years because of how it's affecting their father Jacob. And that's not mentioned, this specific moment is not mentioned in Scripture, the one I dramatize here. But we can read between the lines, and when you actually look at Scripture, this just represents me. These kind of chapters represent me addressing the story on a personal footing. And I think that's an important thing to do. And I'm, again, getting it from Scripture. I'm getting my artistic license ideas from what's already in the text and reading between the lines. And you can see how the tragedy affected Benjamin because of how Jacob talked about it. He talked later on in the Bible with a lot of bitterness about it, and he wouldn't allow him to go to Egypt. We'll see this a bit later. So it's important to engage with the raw humanity in the story. And, some of this imagination is good because it helps us connect more with the personal side of the story. And the more we can empathize with these characters, the more we can see the reality of what God was doing based on the reality of what they were experiencing as people. We can get down in the dirt with them and not see them as these big giant saints that didn't have any problems. So again, Benjamin is still in the dark with his father, and you can imagine how difficult and strange that would be for the brothers who knew what happened and what they did, but they're feeling stuck and unable to express it. Just the implications of what's going on here are really intense and important to talk about. So basically, Benjamin is dealing with growing up with a father who has pretty much tuned him out because of his own grief. And, Jacob is allowing his grief to cheat Benjamin of a full life because he's living from a place of fear. Like, I don't know why God couldn't be trusted with Joseph, and I'm definitely not trusting him with Benjamin. So he's allowed his grief, Jacob has, to block his relationship with the Lord. He's allowed his grief to cause him to act differently. Like, I can't trust the Lord anymore with my children, and that's affecting Benjamin. And how this applies to us is I want to talk about how to fully enter into your grief, but also how to fully enter into the lives of those around you and not allow them to be cheated by your grief. And that's especially crucial when you're a parent or a spouse. But how do you do that? If you've lost someone important to you or something devastating has happened to your life and it's so painful you can't function, how do you get to the point where you can still be a parent or a family member to your surviving family and still fully enter into the life around you? Psychiatrists talk about how much healthier it is how children grieve as opposed to adults, because children are able to enter fully into both grief and life. And even though it seems offensive to adults somehow, those moments of normalcy actually enables the children's brains and hearts to have a moment to heal. Adults tend to keep themselves in places of grief, refusing to have any moments of entering in with anything around them. Now, it's not about waiting for your pain to go away or ignoring it. It's literally a perspective shift. And the power that enables you to do that comes from leaning on the truth of God even when you don't feel it. John 10:10 says, "The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I, Jesus, have come that you may have life and life more abundantly." And this is belief. To be able to stand on the truth and say, okay, the part of this that the enemy has a hand in is the stealing, the killing, and the destroying. But I don't want to allow him to destroy the rest of my life and the family that God also gave me. The person I lost wouldn't want that. And Jesus enables me to live abundantly. I don't have to do this alone. That abundant life was purchased by Jesus and available in him even through pain. Abundant life is not a place we get to on earth where everything's perfect. That's in eternity. But the abundant life is still possible in Jesus, even if it's a life that doesn't include people or things that we thought would be there. And that's the hard part. That's often what holds us back from moving forward, because we don't want to move forward into a life that doesn't include the person we lost. But we have no choice. If you lost someone and they're gone, but you're still here, God still has a plan for you, and it's worth fighting for. Your surviving family is worth fighting for. And it can be as heroic as just taking a daily disciplined step, leaning into Jesus and just saying, Lord, you taught us that the world has trouble, but you overcame the world. Help me take heart. Help me get up and take the next step. I am in the midst of the trouble you said would come, and I need you to teach me how to live through this. Sometimes it feels impossible or like you're betraying your pain, but it's not ignoring your grief. In order to not destroy the rest of your life and your family, the only way forward is through God gifting us his perspective. We don't need to try to force healing or try to figure out why this happened. It's best to just ask God for comfort and the wisdom and strength that only he can give. Just believe and pursue him and cling to him and take small steps. The peace of Jesus is meant to be experienced through the trouble of the world, and he's promised to carry us through all of it. And that honestly takes the pressure off us. His peace is what we can fill up on, and then we can give something valuable to our family and the world. I've mentioned this before, but I take great comfort from the fact that all those years that Jacob was grieving and feeling like God has forsaken him, God was with Joseph all that time, orchestrating a plan that would literally blow Jacob's mind, a redemption that he never could have conceived of. And Joseph was in Egypt all those years, praying for his father to hang on, praying for him to see his father again one day and actually be able to show him what God was doing. And that's what God has for us. We don't see it, but he has exceedingly abundantly more than we could ask or think, according to his power at work within us. But he doesn't want us to waste our lives in the meantime. He wants to see us engaging with him even in our grief and confusion. And when we do that, he will honor our suffering and open our eyes in ways we couldn't have done alone. Even in a horrible grieving situation, you can find grace for your family in God and come to the place where you realize he's not done with you yet. He's still fulfilling promises. This isn't the end. I'm recording this on Easter week, the Holy Week leading up to Easter Sunday in 2024. And that's honestly the big theme of Jesus and Easter. The resurrection came from the cross. The cross looked like the ultimate triumph of evil, and yet God was in control the entire time, putting the enemy to open shame, using the worst injustice, what looked like the worst injustice on the face of the earth, as a way to save all humanity and raise up Jesus. Because Jesus obeyed God and surrendered to him in perfect obedience, even to death on a cross, God has highly exalted him, and now he is the ultimate salvation. That's what we celebrate on Easter, and that's what we need to cling to and celebrate even in the midst of our pain. We can look at the cross. Even if you don't see it in your own life, look at how the cross became the resurrection and what that does for you. And now you can see the way through. Fight for it. It's worth it.